Yep, looks good. So, quick intro. So we're shifting to Michael Falk with Wisconsin Dept. And Wisconsin is one of the states that has yet to knowingly have spotted lanternfly. So this is a kind of a preparatory, excuse me, um, perspective from Wisconsin. So Michael, oh, we just lost it.
No, you're good. Sorry. I figured I should turn on my camera. I'm sorry. Just realized it wasn't on. Cool. All right. Back in it. You can see it?
Looks good. Yes, sir. You're good to go.
Cool. Well, just want to say thanks, Scott. This is kind of cool to hear different perspectives from different states with different infestation statuses. Um, so, Wisconsin, we have kind of an interesting situation here in that we're expecting to see kind of some different patterns with spotted lanternfly across the state. I guess I will say that to this date, we have never found a living life stage. So we're that state that we think it's around the corner, but we're still waiting for it to come. But across the state, you can see that up in the northwestern portion of Wisconsin, we get really cold temperatures. And based on some literature that I've reviewed and Amanda's excellent presentation from yesterday, we have reason to believe that SLF potentially won't do so well up in that northwestern corner of the state. But if you picture that as like a gradient down to the southeast corner, um, SLF is going to do better and better the closer we get down to that southeastern corner. So, with that in mind, couple that with the fact that we've been doing, Ilanthus surveys for the past couple years, and that southeastern corner is really the Ilanthus hotspot of the state from what we've found. You'll notice that there's kind of two like high density zones of Ilanthus. Those two areas are our biggest metropolitan areas of Milwaukee down in the southeast, and then Madison down in kind of the south central portion of the state. So lots of transportation pathways down there. And then as kind of icing on the cake, it's all pretty near the Chicagoland area, which is just to the south of that kind of southeastern corner of the state, which has known populations of SLF. So all that kind of combined together indicates to us that this southeastern portion of the state is really where it should get most attention from us from a proactive standpoint. So just to talk about that proactive standpoint a little bit, we've been doing quite a few visual surveys for the past couple years. And in these visual surveys, like other states have mentioned, we're prioritizing high risk areas, similar factors to what Matt Helmus described in his presentation yesterday of, rail yards, shipping areas, in those high, metropolitan like areas with high human density. We'll kind of scout those out on Google Street View and Google Maps, and choose some areas for boots on the ground visual surveys. And we've developed a field maps app that we use for those visual surveys to kind of organize ourselves and make sure that we do a comprehensive job. Might be kind of hard to see on your screen, but I've included a screenshot to that up on the upper right side, where basically you have like an aerial image, and then if you look closely, there's yellow squiggly lines that signify where our inspectors, looked. So we can have a record of where we've looked, and to make sure we've done a comprehensive survey of the area. So this past year, we surveyed about 19 total counties and walked about over 50 miles on foot. So we got our steps in looking for SLF. And I'm happy to say we did not find any SLF life stages this past year, and we have not found any for the past couple of years doing these surveys, but we found them valuable and we'll definitely continue to do them moving forward. But you'll notice if you look at this map, we've got two different shapes on it, and I've just kind of covered the circles, which are, those preemptive visual surveys. Then we've also got these triangles that show public reports. So I'm going to talk about that here. And that's kind of the other tier of our, proactive approach for keeping an eye out for spotted lanternfly. We've tried to lean in really hard to public outreach and reporting. So we have a very nicely made reporting app available online that basically gives the public, anyone with the URL, an opportunity to tell us what they've seen. They can choose from pictures and check boxes to say, yep, that looks like what I ended up seeing. they can include photos from their end, include a GPS point, all that kind of stuff. It's nice because we can embed that within a QR code, and we've really been leaning into that for our social media posts and kind of hard copy posters that we've developed over the last couple of years. So that all, results in some points populating on our map of sightings. Mitch Lannon, our forest entomologist, goes in and kind of, takes a look at what's submitted, assesses the threat. A lot of them, as you'd probably imagine, are instances of mistaken identity where they're box elder bugs or something like that. But every now and then we get one that is, of sufficient concern to warrant a follow-up boots on the ground survey, which we kind of handle the way I described with those preemptive surveys. And we think that this public outreach approach is really going to yield dividends over time. Just, the idea of getting more eyes out in the field looking for it. It's such a recognizable insect. So Michelle Bogdan-Metzel, our communication expert, is developing some cool stuff and doing a lot of good work in getting the word out there. So we have a couple different publications that we have subscribers for, our field notes and what's growing on, newsletters targeted at growers and nursery growers as well. Several thousand folks are subscribed to those, so we definitely make sure to put the word out about SLF in those on an annual basis, sometimes a couple times. It's really a big focus of our social media, especially when we get to the later stages of the summer when there's a high likelihood of seeing SLF out in the field. So we get we've gotten good stats over the years that signify that those, social media outreaches have been pretty successful. And then we're also doing billboards, as some other states have noted. Definitely a good way to just get the image of it out there. And we include our vanity URL on that, in these instances where we can't put the QR code, it's a convenient, source that people can hopefully see on the billboard and remember and visit when they get home. So that's kind of our the main heavy hitters of our general public approach to outreach, but we're also doing some more targeted outreach to industries and professionals that either have a high likelihood of coming in contact with spotted lanternfly or are just kind of a population of folks we think would want to keep an eye out for it and would be likely to report it if they saw something. So this ranges from, having a table at our Growing Wisconsin conference that's like a specialty grower conference for grape growers, orchard owners, pumpkin folks, all that, over to kind of the other end of the spectrum, people that aren't as involved with the growing aspect of things, but like public works professionals. So we've been presenting at like a public works expo for the past couple of years down in the Milwaukee area, where we get like groundskeepers and folks that, probably have a high likelihood of coming in contact with SLF if it were to come here. And therefore, folks that we definitely want it to get on their radar. In addition to that kind of just general, the wide net of public outreach, we are also making a big effort to fold in SLF into like our, the industries and populations that we serve in our everyday work at the Department of Agriculture in Wisconsin. So an example of that, Krista Hamilton, our field crop entomologist, works with apple growers on an annual basis to, do some monitoring surveys and do some trainings. And essentially we are, pushing out SLF info to them, not only to get it on their radar and get it as something to keep an eye out for, but also to, accurately characterize what the risk is, what they can expect once it comes, just to, kind of keep everybody informed, so that when it does come, that we, don't have growers that are, overly concerned or like field, an unsustainable amount of questions at DATCAB or something like that. So same applies really to our nursery inspections. So we do a large number of these a year, as do a lot of other states. Great opportunity to get the word out. These are all, in my mind, high risk locations, potentially getting in plant material from other states. So we fold in SLF outreach to these inspections. Definitely have handouts ready and on hand. But we've also moved toward making some virtual resources available. So we've got, for example, this industry-specific YouTube training that we've developed over the past couple years that we are, referring our nurseries to so that they can gain more information about spotted lanternfly. And it's been paying off, I think, as evidenced by the fact that all of our, positive life stage finds have come from members of the public submitting, photos either through that reporting form that I showed in previous slides or through iNaturalist. So we've had a handful come in over the past couple years. I'm happy to report that none of these have been live life stages. We've pretty much determined these to all be dead upon arrival situations. But it does show that the pathway is there. So, it's reason to suspect that, we're getting the word out to the right folks, and perhaps, that first live detection or that first, establishment might not be too far around the corner. And so we're also prepping the steps for when that, first true life stage or establishment comes. I'm so sorry, my dog is barking in the background. I'm not sure if you all can hear that, but I'm getting toward the end of the presentation anyways. So we, as I described in previous slides, we have a mapping technology available in ArcGIS field maps that we're using for data collection for like preemptive surveys, but we also think that that will be our primary tool for when we are performing delimitation surveys. We also have written up a invasive species response plan with a specific appendix for spotted lanternfly. So this includes ICS charts, workflows, timelines, and contacts that pretty much outlines us a step-by-step process for when we do find that first infestation. So that's something that we can essentially just go down the list and not have to create excessive stress by trying to remember what the steps are. And we've tested that response plan in a tabletop exercise that we completed in 2023, where basically we thought up this hypothetical response scenario and basically responded to a hypothetical situation of infestation in the Milwaukee area. And it provided us some assurance that we're on the right track with our invasive species response plan, but it also, kind of exposed some areas that needed a little more thought that we've since, incorporated and strengthened the plan. And on top of that, we have kind of a coalition built of what we call the Invasive Species Pest Coordinating Group in Wisconsin. This was formerly our Emerald Ash Borer Operations Group, but we've kind of expanded it to address more tree invasives. We meet 2 times annually. It's a group of state government, federal government, tribes, UW Extension, all these groups that will essentially play a role once the insect is found. And we talk about subsequent steps for spotted lanternfly, as well as some of other insects that are kind of on the horizon for Wisconsin. We'll mention that going back to my first slide, there is some uncertainty about how spotted lanternfly will do in certain areas of Wisconsin. So basically, we're not really planning on taking a one-size-fits-all approach. If and when we do find it, we're going to assess, what the climate is like in the given area, what the infestation density in area is like, what the land use is like, and then potentially work with landowners to try to ascertain what the best, management strategy would be. So we're not really going to have a blanket one-size-fits-all, state-sponsored treatment plan, but rather kind of take it on a site-by-site basis. And the same kind of applies to a quarantine approach. We're not really thinking of, a blanket interior quarantine, rather working with specific businesses and assessing risks on, individual scenarios and going from there. So that's about all I have. Thanks again, Scott, for organizing this. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them in the chat.